Hello and welcome to Tech Town.
Tech Town.
Season 2, episode 26, where you come to learn about all things tech. I'm Mr. Ellsberg. This is our town wizard.
Boom.
And we're going to be talking about business. Business ideas. And we're going to do things a little bit differently here today, where I, Mr. Ellsberg, am going to throw some business ideas up on the proverbial wall and see what sticks to the town wizard.
Yeah, that's right. Because I feel like a lot of people have business ideas. You know, some of them are not very well thought out. Some are really well thought out. Some are great. Some are terrible. But how do you know which one of those is like worth actually pursuing versus which is fun to just kind of talk about? We're about to find out.
That's right. And so what we'll do is we'll take a few of these ideas and maybe kind of extrapolate and see if we can figure out what like a viable business model for that is, if it could make money, if people would actually want to do it. And we've got both of us here, so one of us is extremely biased towards these ideas because they might have come up with them this morning over coffee.
But still, we're ready to take them on.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. I'm going to check my notes. And the first idea is the How Am I Feeling app. Okay, so here's the idea. How am I feeling? So let's say you are really hungry, all right? You press the button that says hunger on it, and then it's going to show you all the places that are as close to you as possible. What if you're like, I'm really thirsty? Or what if I really need adventure? Or what if I really need to go to the bathroom?
Oh, yes.
Then it's going to quickly redirect you to the place that's closest to that area in which people have maybe crowdsourced, where they have been able to relieve themselves, get food, find adventure, whatever that might be. But then you can kind of, you know, I don't want to get way out there, but you could even see like, all right, where's the best place to get a sunset in right from here? What's the best place to go and meet people, right? What's the best place to go and buy a random present? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. This is an awesome start. I think this is a great example of where there's a lot of potential, and then there's a couple places that are going to be really difficult. So what's good to know up front is not necessarily how to fix all the problems, but at least know what the general problems are that you'll have to tackle and whether it's worth tackling. So let me first talk about business, because that's kind of what we're talking about here. Will this work as a business? Meaning, will it be able to make money? My town wizard vote is yes.
All right.
Okay. And the reason is, I think there are a couple opportunities where you can have money in here that are reasonable. A lot of times they'll try to fit in advertisement. So like you could say, okay, you'll do your app, and this at the top of the screen, there'll always be an ad.
Right.
And it may not be for sunsets or food. It may just be for cars or whatever. A lot of people say, sure, well, as long as you have enough ads to sort of keep the business going, they don't have to necessarily relate.
Right.
I disagree.
Okay.
Not good. If you just put ads on the top, it's going to be annoying. It's not going to really pay the bills. You're going to have to get a lot of users before that actually makes any money. So I would say ads isn't necessarily the way by just slapping an ad on the top.
Okay.
But you mentioned when you want to get something to eat, it shows you a list of places. That's a great opportunity. As soon as you're now referring people to businesses, the businesses want that. So there's different ways that you can get them to help you. So maybe they would pay to be on the top of the list as a featured person. So a good example of what you're thinking of, and another point to remember is think of examples of what you're thinking of that are doing it a little bit differently or very similar. So my first thought is Yelp, right? So
Yelp would be a good example for food.
So for food and maybe for thirst. But then my mind says, well, why is your idea different than Yelp? And is that important? And I think it is. I think the big difference, and that's another thing to remember about your business, is that you have to just in some way be different enough from everything else to get some people. So is yours different enough? And I think it is because of the simplicity of just give me this specific category, give me the best ones, and sort them in a way that I really care about. Yelp doesn't quite tackle that well enough. When you say food, you can put on a bunch of filters, you can sort of do it, you know, hone in on what you want, but I don't think it quite captures the just give me the list of the best one here. So that's a hard problem though, and Yelp's been trying to solve it. So I guess my overall package suggestion is how are you going to get the answers to those questions? You know, what is the best thirsty thing? You said crowdsourcing. You know, think of how that'll come down the line. How do you get the actual people to do it? A lot of times you may have to start off doing it yourself, manually, just entering in the best place to eat.
Or finding like a database that already exists.
Or finding and paying other people. That's another concept we're going to get to, is to get the data from other people is a great way to go if they're really good at it, but you may have to pay them for it. So that means you'll have to make enough money to offset that. So overall, I think it has potential because there's a lot of these scenarios that I want. I want the best sunset. I want to find the best place to eat around here. But getting all that data, and then not just having lame ads, but having real, you know, a good source of when these companies would give you money to be able to feature them, and not have that be too overwhelming to the user. A lot of times users see ads and they're like, no, I don't want that. So bottom line, it has potential. There's some commerce, there's some business model. You got to get the sorting of these places good, and that's hard.
What about for like data? So could this business exist by purely using the data to give to companies and other places? So it looks like a lot of people are in these areas at this time. So maybe you can sell that data to, you know, let's say like a lemonade place, right? They want to know where people are thirsty at what time of day. And with this, you could say, well, there's a lot of people that are pushing the, you know, app at this part of town.
That's a great point. Sometimes what you have as a business value is your business, but a lot of times it's the data or data you collect. So you're absolutely right. And so I think a good example is Bitly, the site Bitly, bit.ly. At first you think, well, this site doesn't do very much. All it does is it takes long URLs, long web addresses. So like, you know, sometimes you're trying to share a link with somebody and it's like google.com/search $Q equals, you know, 694, comma, and percent, and all this stuff. And you just want to share a short little link. You can go to Bitly, paste the long one. It gives you bit.ly/ and then only a couple letters, so it's easy. So at first it's like, okay, is that a business? Well, not really. Turns out it really is, because Bitly, more than almost anyone else besides like Facebook, knows what links people are going to and who those people are and can sell that information. So you're absolutely right. If you have information like that, not only for your own business, but whether it's about the lemonade stand needs to know who's thirsty right now, and you know, that's absolutely a good idea.
Well, good. Okay, so obviously I'm gonna make $1 million on that one. Okay, $1 million coming right up.
All right, what's next?
All right, the next is, where's my thing that I really need right now? App.
Okay, thing that I really need. What kind of thing?
So, I mean, I think there's certain things. So they're like keys and wallets and this sort of stuff. But here's the thing, right? I was thinking about like location dropping. And there's always that stuff that you need like seasonally, right? So like, where's my camping gear? Where's my, so where's that stuff?
I see.
And then what you do is when you put it away for the season, you put it in your phone. Here's where it is. And then boom, it like goes right there. And then, I don't know, like maybe it says something like, oh, did you pack it in a place that would destroy it? Go check REI's place to get a replacement for that.
Something like that. So cool. So first of all, you're thinking even one step further.
I'm going deep now.
Because a lot of people will stop and not think about the business. They'll think, I want to find my stuff. So let's just make an app to find your stuff. And that's it. So I do, first of all, think it's good that you thought about the REI part, or how could you make money? You don't want to force it. You know, it should feel like it's a natural part of this process. That's another thing, is that once you start forcing business on something, just for the sake of business, it's probably going to make the whole thing worse. So it really should fit nicely. So one thing, first of all, in all of these, it's important to think about the technology and will it work? So we'll talk about the business model most, but at first think about the technology. How much would it cost? How would you actually do it? For this one, there's a few different ways. One of them is manually, like when you put anything anywhere, you just type in your phone where it was. That is easier to do, to program, to make, but it's not as slick. You know, if you could have some sensor on it that knows where everything is.
What if you just took a picture of it?
Took a picture of it, how would it know where it is? Or you would just see the picture.
I guess you'd see the picture,
Okay, that's not a bad idea. So in a way, this is sort of like cataloging all of your things. and where it is part of it. Maybe you could also have other information about it, you know, how old it is or where the warranty is. Just kind of a catalog of all your stuff. A lot of people do that with their movie collection, just their DVD collection, catalog it all. So anyway, okay, so first of all, I think this is a good idea because the problem is there. People need to solve this problem. Where's all my crap? I think you mentioned one business model way, which is partnering with REI. I think that's going to be a little bit tough, not only to fit into the app, but anytime you're talking to other companies, it's just kind of tough. So here's another route. So instead of advertising, instead of sort of partnerships or sponsorships with other companies, what about charging for the app itself? Ooh. So a lot of people will charge for a game, 99 cents, and some people are scared off by that. Some people never want to pay for any apps at all. I think that's a little unreasonable because they'll go and drop $5 on a useless, you know, scarf for their pinky finger.
I've got one of those.
And then you pay for a fifth of the price, have an app that you play every day or use every day. So I would say it's not unreasonable to think about charging for the app itself, because then you don't deal with this whole other world of, you know, iffiness or other businesses and they want to make money. This is more like, I'm providing something that's worthwhile, just to be able to find your stuff. I'll charge 99 cents for it. So don't always go there because you have to watch out. People aren't really willing to pay for apps very much. But if you really solve the problem, then I think it's a good way. Another thing about charging for the price of apps is a lot of people don't want to buy an app before they've tried it. So it's really important a lot of times to give them some sort of trial period.
Free trial.
Oh, exactly. That can also be annoying too, but as long as you really get people to understand that they really want this app, and it's worth their money, then they may be willing to pay for it. So for your example, I think you got to think about the technology a little bit more. How's it going to actually work? Are people willing to do it? But if you can sell this just based on the app price itself, then you don't need to worry as much about having a ton of users or finding a ton of business partners. It's so many times it's just all about finding business partners or finding users rather than just making the app. That this one might be nice to just sell the app. It's worth it.
So could you, I don't know if the technology is there, could you set, so like Google Maps, right? Or looking at like a large GIS, Geographic Information System, like a mapping. So could you do that for your abode? Is there something that you could do just for your place that would be able to find the mapping for that? Because the thing about, so if you wanted to find the exact location and say use another GIS, it's going to be zoomed way out, right? So, but you just want something localized. Are there things that would be able to do that within your little place?
Yes, but not quite as easy as GPS so far. So GPS is now accurate, I think, on people's cell phones to maybe at the best within about 3 meters. It can be even a little better than that, but that's at the best. And usually it's not that, especially when you're indoors. So the thing is the regular GPS and like Google Maps and sort of these current mapping systems that we have GPSs for, not quite precise enough. You could maybe do it okay, but this is the kind of thing where it's important enough that you need to find your thing, that you need a better location. So you can buy better GPSs, but now you get into the fact of, are people going to buy a better GPS that's expensive just to get their house? And
because all you really need is 3 points, right?
So that's true.
Triangulate.
That's true
so
too.
Could you just put 2 points up in your place?
Now, it's a good idea. This is a good thought, because if there were some way to make that cheap, so you buy these signals that then triangulate things, maybe, but my guess is it's not cheap. There's probably other tricks to make it work. I'm a fan of like figuring out little tricks, like you said, take a picture. Like maybe that's good enough. So just weigh the cost of trying to bring in a whole new technology and let people buy more things. But another thing to never discount, maybe there's only 100 people in the city or in this world that want your thing, but they really want it. And they're willing to pay $10,000, $100,000 for it. Well, then it may be worth it, even if it involves some crazy technology. So another thing is, sometimes you want everybody in the world to use it, but almost more importantly, figure out exactly who might want this. And even if it's hard or expensive or whatever, they may still be into it. So a couple of examples I would give. One of them is the high-end watch website. It's all about high-end watches. Well, I don't buy high-end watches, and I'm not going to drop thousands of dollars on it, so I'm not going to go to the website. So to me, that's not a very good business. But to the people who are into high-end watches, they're all about it. They're willing to read every little bit and pay money to subscribe to the site and see reviews. So when the thing is that important to people, they're willing to pay.
Got it.
Another one is high quality audio equipment. Some people buy record players that cost like 10 grand, 100 grand, just to have, and not to mention their speaker system that's also 100 grand. They're willing to. It's just their thing. So hey, maybe somebody's super really interested in finding their backpack and wherever they put it.
Or a company, you know. Find where they put their stuff.
Exactly.
Could be a large company like you know, a stuff company.
That's a good point. And Amazon really has this system down because they need that. So they really have that exactly down. So it's a good point. Amazon did it. Can we make it cheaper? Bring it to the house.
Boom.
All right.
Okay. Next idea.
Keep them coming.
All right. So it's the what goes with this idea for food.
What goes with this?
What goes with this?
Okay.
Okay. So let's say you've got something. Let's say you've got like a salmon fillet. Okay. You want to know what it goes with. So you, I don't know, are at the store and you're like, what goes with it? So boom, you press the what goes with this button, and then you figure out where in the store, or maybe, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be that specific, but it maybe just tells you, you know, try these things. And then you could select it, and then if you use it a lot, then it'll have like a history where you could say like, oh, how did that go? You remember that, you know, sort of thing. You've been using this one a lot. Maybe try a different one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So first of all, I think it's a cool idea. I think there's a lot of use for that because you're in the house. So as far as usefulness, I think it's cool. So there's other times we can talk about how useful the products are. Today, I want to talk mostly about business, and then I do want to bring in the technology because it's important to understand the technology to even get a handle on the business. So real quick on the technology, how would you know what the food that you're eating is to then know what goes with it?
So that would be something that you would have to know.
Either know, or, you know, the ideal would be you take a picture of the dish and it knows what it is. That technology is not there yet.
No. Well, and then there's lots of different forms that one food can take.
That's true too.
You know?
So it's good to think about some of these specifics of how would you even get the technology to work. Okay, all that aside, let's say it works. Let's say maybe you're taking a picture, maybe you're typing it in of what exactly it is. Then how do you bring the business into it? I think there's a great opportunity for advertising in the way that it makes sense when you recommend what foods go with it. Those foods could be sponsored by a company, and the business could get paid for that. So let's say
Kraft cheddar cheese.
So let's say you're
goes wonderful with fillets of salmon.
Fillets of salmon. You're eating fillets of salmon. But it brings up a good point: is you can't mess this up.
You can't.
No, if your business is just trying to make money, you would put Kraft cheese up at the top because they paid you the most money. But no. You have to make it make sense first, and then the money will follow. So if you ask for salmon and it recommends a nice white wine that really goes well, and maybe some asparagus that goes well, and then that white wine happens to give you some options of a store to buy it at or a specific brand, that fits in rather than saying, Kraft cheese. What were you asking for again? So I think that's a great opportunity where the advertising fits. You probably don't want to charge for the app necessarily because I think people want to just try it and do it for free. But yeah, potential. Definitely potential.
Okay, good. All right. Next one up.
Nice, bring it on.
A smell detector.
Smell detector.
A smell detector. Now, this is one obviously in which the technology might be, you know, a little far away.
It's okay. It's good to understand that, but let's keep going.
So yeah. So let's say you smell something and you want to know what it is. Like for instance, it could be something that's enjoyable. Like, ooh, I really like the smell of whatever is blooming right now in the town that I'm living in. So you're walking down the street and you smell something nice. What is that? Another thing is it could be a kind of an emergency thing. So like, what is this crazy smell that I'm smelling? Oh, it's such and such a gas, which could crush you. And then it alerts the authorities or something like that to a leak.
That's a great idea. Okay, so I'm liking this one. The technology, you're right, is not quite there, or it's too hard, or whatever. But that aside, I think there's a couple important lessons to learn from this one of how you could make this really work versus it could be a fun app.
Right.
So if you really want to make a growable, scalable business that like really can make future money, it's tough when you talk about individual people, because individual people only have so much money to spend, only so much time. They don't necessarily do it in you know, masses. But companies do. So one way to think of is maybe you want to eventually help people smell what flower that is. But if you can start with a company that really needs this smell detector, then you'll be able to make a bunch of the money to then support this other cause. So an example is an emergency. I think is great because that's another one that people are really willing to pay for in emergencies. So an example is maybe there's a giant building, a commercial building, a factory, an oil plant, or something huge that could really benefit from this. Try selling it to them because they may buy 1 million of them, or they may pay $1 million, rather than you try to get all your neighborhood people to sort of smell the flowers. You know, they may pay $1 or $2. So I think the important point is, even if you do want to help people smell the flowers or understand, maybe the real business is going big with the commercial industry. And another example is like a hotel chain. If there's anything you could ever sell to a hotel chain, you're set, because then you don't have to go to all the individual people. They already have all the individual people in the room. So if you can sell a new water faucet to a hotel chain rather than go door to door selling it to the people, you're going to be riding easy. So for your smell detector, I think, think big, think of companies that may really need this. Emergency is a great one because people are willing to pay to, you know, save their house from burning down. So I think, great idea, but also as fun as it may be to think of the normal people, everyday uses, sometimes the business would really tell you to go after the big dogs.
All right.
But I like it. I like it.
Smell-o-vision.
These are awesome.
All right. Okay. So all right. So I've got one that's okay. This is really half-baked. So the instant party business.
Okay. Go on.
So basically you hit them up and say, I've got 2 hours. We're going to have people over my place. I need a party. This is how many people are probably going to be there. I need to have a party. And they are, you know, bring you the music. They bring you the food. They bring you all of these. And you can maybe get it modularly. So you just pick, I just need these things, and these things. And boom. Instant party. And they bring you all the stuff. And then all you have to have is supply the people.
All right, cool. First of all, it sounds fun. Let's order one. I want one.
Maybe this is something I want to do.
right. Okay, so I think a lot of the things we already talked about apply really nicely in that advertising can work in here. You can have, when you say, I want a DJ, you can have sponsored DJs who are paying you to be featured at the top. Same goes for food and caterers and all these things. It's okay. Advertising's okay. We'll sum it up. I'm not too big a fan of advertising, so it's something to think about if it really works. But I think more of what this is you would just charge based on your service. So as the company, you'll help facilitate getting this party together, and all you charge is whether it's 10% of the whole cost or a flat fee. There's something about this convenience that people are just willing to pay for. So I think this is a good example of where this business model is tried and true forever. You're providing a service, you're connecting to other people, and people are just willing to pay for it. So it's not a new crazy thing. People understand that. So I guess you obviously have to make the parties good enough. You have to find the right kind of food, caterers, and all the right people to make it actually work. But assuming that stuff sort of works, I think the business model is there because people are just willing to pay for a good party. Instant party. Instant's a little interesting. I don't know if all the DJs and caterers can drop everything in a moment to come and give you a party, but hey, I think that's cool. So and again, remember, you can do this for individual people and go door to door, and it'll take a lot of time and a lot of work to make a little bit of money. Or what if you partnered with, you know, a big DJ company that already has DJs going for them, and they already go places? Maybe you could partner with them. Maybe you could partner with a venue that hosts events. I don't know exactly. It takes some brainstorming for sure. But think about if there's a way that you can capture a ton of people in a place already at once, rather than going out and finding them.
Cool. So it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
So far, we're 100%.
Okay. All right. Next, I need to learn this quick idea. All right. So let's say that there's something like that you need to learn how to do, and you only have so much time, right? Like I need to learn the basics of Spanish or how to fry an egg. Now I know that YouTube or whatever kind of does this right now, where if you need to learn it, like you just kind of put it in a search. But what if you had something that was just, I need to learn how to do this thing, and then boom, it gives you just like the easiest way to like kind of go about it. And it's, I was thinking something that was like, that would be simple, right? Maybe something that if you can't learn it in 15 steps, it's not there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's a good idea. I think there's a lot of potential in just learning, and how do you learn how to do things? Not necessarily just learning, because there's like classes that you can take, but yeah, I want to specifically learn how to do this thing. Okay, so one good thing to think about is what else is out there that sort of solves this problem, and are we going to be different enough, and people will really care that we exist? So the competitors, I guess you could say, are, like you brought up, YouTube. Not quite there because of the reasons you mentioned. It's kind of all over the place.
Right.
Maybe you could find this stuff, but it takes some hunting. You have to watch a music video first or something. Another one that's very close is Instructables, or How Stuff Works, or eHow. There's a lot of these sort of how to do things.
Right.
I think there's not the one that solves this problem yet.
Right.
Because I haven't found that all these offer good answers, quick answers all the time.
Right.
So I think your options are, number one is try to be just very good quality for a limited amount of things.
Right.
So you say, I'm only maybe in this one industry. I'm only about your home, or I'm only about electronics. That's one maybe to focus, because otherwise, how are you going to get all this content? To have these videos sitting there ready for
so
people?
many things that you could learn, right?
Yeah, so I think one good lesson this brings up is, assuming you could even make money later on, how do you start? What do you have to pay for to get up and running? Number one, there's usually huge technology costs just to build an app. That costs a lot of money and time. That's almost a given for everything. But also, how are you going to get the content, the videos? So this brings up another point where a good phrase is, content is king.
Right.
If you have content that you own of any kind, that you either own or bought or produced or something, then you're doing great. If you have to pay other people for their content, or if you have to get users to make content for you, that gets tough. So you may think, oh, people just upload videos and we'll crowdsource it. People don't want to do anything. People don't want to do it. I mean, some people do, but you can't just depend on people doing things because you want them to, even if you ask really nice. So think of, how are you going to get these people to upload all the videos? Or do you have to pay somebody else for the videos? You could imagine paying, Netflix and YouTube and Hulu and anybody, Instructables, and sort of be gathering all of their content and put it in a nice package, which may be nicer for the user, but you're just going to forevermore have to pay these companies every month, every time anybody watches these videos. So important to remember, either produce your own content because you can and you're good enough, and then you have control over it and maybe can even sell that content to other people, or just make sure whatever you're doing is going to make you enough money to not only pay the people who own the content, but yourselves forever. And that's not proven easy. Just an example is like Spotify and Pandora. They don't own the music. They're paying the music labels for the music to be able to stream, and they're losing money like crazy. You think Pandora's like doing pretty well, Spotify's doing pretty well? Well, no, they're leaking money. They're losing money. So they're just trying to break even, and that's not easy. So if they were to own that music, sure, they'd be getting paid monthly fees or advertising money, but they're basically just paying all that money directly to the music label. So, okay, so getting back to your idea here, I wanna instruct people things. Are people willing to pay because it's that important? Maybe like you were saying, I want to learn this now. What if your car's broken down? You may be really willing to pay a lot to learn that, as long as it's good. Right. So that's another example. If people really, really need it and it's good quality and actually helpful, then sure, you could even think about charging $10 for every video because somebody broken down by the side of the road willing to pay $10.
Yeah, cool. How about that?
Yeah.
That was a little bit half-baked. I'll give that one.
I think the idea is important because I think there is this need for to learn how to do things on the internet.
Right.
And it's not quite captured.
Okay. So that brings us to, can I eat it? And so what I was thinking is,
you mean like dirt?
Okay, so there's like that side, which is not food.
Okay.
But then there's does this have gluten in it? Does this have something that maybe okay, so maybe you have like a really strict allergy, but maybe you just have a like food preference or food tolerance issue, or if you're just on a kind of a diet. The thing is you might be at a restaurant, you might be just at your home and not know what these kind of whole foods will do to your body, right? And so let's say if you know like something, happens when you eat this kind of food, but you don't know if this other food has that food in it.
Yeah.
So you can't always just read labels if it's some kind of, maybe it's some kind of food that you've never had before, right? And so it would say maybe something along the lines of, oh yeah, that also has like too much sugar for you or something.
Yeah, sure. Or maybe some of it is very serious, as in allergies or things that would cause problem to your body, but some of it is maybe about diet and just health, and that you don't want to eat more than this amount of sugar or carbs, and that it could sort of announce you've reached your limit. Okay, so great idea, and I think very important, especially for just being health conscious, and people struggle a lot with what they can and can't eat.
Right.
Couple things. Number one, a lot of apps like this already exist. So I thought of this idea because I thought that would be a great idea, so it makes sense. You look it up, and there are apps where the way that they sort of approach it is when you're in the grocery store.
Right.
So when you're in the grocery store and you're shopping for food, the way they have it is you can scan barcodes of things and it'll recognize what it is, what the ingredients are.
Right.
You've already input your allergies, and it'll match it up and say you can or can't eat this.
Right.
So number one, it's a good idea because it exists.
Right.
So once you have an idea and you kind of look around, make sure you look around to see if it exists. Then your options are either, oh, it exists, they did it well enough, let's just move on and let them do their thing.
Right.
Or they didn't do it well enough, we can do this better, let's crush it.
Right.
Now, I'm a fan of that second one, except you really have to be a little more sure that you got a path forward, because you may not want to spend all this time if you're not actually going to be better.
Right.
But, I think there's always room for improvement. So in this case, I think the biggest challenge is overcoming competitors. Sometimes there's nobody doing anything like what you do. Sometimes there's some people, but they're not really quite doing it right. In this case, there are people doing it close to right. Right. So first of all, just know whether this is worth going into or not. But then again, maybe they're not doing it right because they're only doing grocery stores. Right. Or maybe scanning barcodes is annoying and there's a better way to do it. So in that case, if you can actually make one that works well and maybe better than the others, you have a shot. Then how do you make money? Well, again, you can do some advertising, whatever. I think in this case, it's maybe important enough for people to pay money for the app itself. Because if you're getting sick based on things you didn't know, people are willing to pay.
I would think it would be similar to like a Fitbit or something like that, right? Where you're just trying to, it's personal health reasons.
Yep, right? Exactly. And people pay a lot for that. So yeah, so definitely check out your competitors. Make sure that you're better, and not just a little better, but you really have a reason to be better. Right. And then it's worth it. And then, fit the business model in where it really fits, not just slapping it on. Okay.
Boom.
Boom.
That's it for our half-baked ideas, our business ideas.
This is awesome. Yeah. Keep coming up with ideas. And you know what's great is that I think it's important to come up with a ton of ideas and then pick from them, There's always going to be a gem inside, maybe a few others that aren't quite the right ones.
That's right.
So we'll see which gem it is. I like the smell, detect what smells one.
Yeah, we need to work on that technology.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Last thing I got to say, I just kind of want to wrap all this up, which is advertising is just kind of lame. Yeah. It seems like you can just put in advertisements, and I even talked about some ways you could do it well, but that's so difficult to do and so not necessarily long-term that I just recommend against it.
Right.
Just maybe even don't think that advertising is going to save you.
Right. There's so much noise.
A lot of noise
out there.
It really ruins the experience for some people too.
Right.
So another thing I gotta say is don't underestimate that people won't use your thing. So it seems like things are a great idea, and when you think of it's like, I would use it, hopefully you would use this. It's tough. Don't come up with ideas that you personally wouldn't use.
Right.
I think it's important that you would use it yourself. But even so, you think, oh, well, everybody would use this. Well, people don't really.
Right.
And even if you really think people would use it, just constantly either second guess yourself or prove to yourself why people would, or go out and find them and talk to them and get them to try to use it. I think a lot of times people will build a business before they even really know that people are going to use it.
Right.
So just money aside, make sure people will actually really, really use the thing right. And that's about it.
There you go. I mean, that's business in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, make useful things. Yeah.
All right, so we talked all things business, which brings us to our music.
Music side of the week. So this week's music site, it ties in well with the business because this week's site is about Patreon.com. So Patreon is a new site, or a relatively new site, that is bringing business back to the arts and movies and music and these things that sort of, it seemed like we're losing money or there's no way as an artist to make money. Podcasting. This is now a website where you can contribute to artists. Not only visual artists, but like I say, podcast artists, or anybody that previously thought, well, am I going to be able to make any money by putting out my podcast?
Right.
Or am I going to be able to make my YouTube videos? This is a way for you to be able to contribute to these artists on an ongoing basis.
Right.
So it's similar to Kickstarter in a way, where Kickstarter, you can contribute.
Sort of looks like, yeah, you got this.
The big difference is that this is a little bit more ongoing and not for just one product. It's not like this artist makes a video and then it's done. It's that this is an artist and they're going to continue to make videos, and that they need this funding to continue to do what they do.
Very cool.
So I think on one hand, this is awesome. This is really what's going to get us away from advertising and allow more content in the world. You remember content is king.
Right.
Well, content starts going away if people can't make a living doing it. So this may be the beginnings of a way for real people, not just professionals who are the best of the best, but just everyday people who have a really good skill or something they want to pursue, to be able to actually pursue that and maybe not make a living, but at least support themselves doing it.
Right. Very cool.
The only downside is I've heard a lot more about this from the artists, not as much from the people contributing. So I'm hoping that this sort of catches on and people are willing to contribute, because so far I've heard of it as artists saying, please contribute, not as much like people are into contributing. So again, are people really willing to do this? Here we see that people are contributing at least $15,000 to that one, $72 to that one. But even so, it sounds like it's getting a little momentum, and I really hope it does, and that people are willing to contribute to good artists.
Very cool. Well, that was our music website of the week, and we are going to go right to our security.
Oh, right to security. All right. So, security for the week. We're going to be talking about Stuxnet. Now, Stuxnet, this is something you got to look up on your own because it's just amazing. We're living in a weird future world. Stuxnet is a virus, and the governments of the United States and Israel aren't admitting to it. But the story goes that the United States, as a government, as a nation, and Israel had this virus, made this virus to get into Iran's nuclear reactors and shut things down.
Wow.
So this is kind of the new version of, I don't know if you call it warfare or espionage or whatever they're doing. But they were able to make a worm. It's actually a worm because it'll spread to other computers, to spread throughout Iran's just nuclear facilities to one of their reactors, to then shut them down.
Wow.
So we're really in this world where governments, not only just random hackers, but governments are making viruses and worms to go out to other nations and shut down their systems. So it's weird because it almost doesn't seem real, but and the governments aren't admitting to it, but it really seems like it was. So this is a good article that talks about the virus itself, how it worked, What it does, it like shut down the centrifuges on the reactor.
Now I heard about this when it happened a couple years ago, and wow, so this is the real. Now, is this hearsay or is this?
I'm willing to
real
put out
say
my foot and say this is real say. I mean, I think what's hearsay is maybe who did it,
right?
But they have the actual code for that virus that they can look through, see exactly how it works. So it was there. And how it got spread, somebody put a USB drive in one of the computers. There was a security flaw. People didn't update their software.
Oh, you gotta update.
Yeah, so you just plug in the USB drive. It infects that computer infects another computer, and spreads until it finds the right one to then shut things down.
Holy smokes. Well, there you go. I mean, cyber warfare, it's
weird.
on.
It's on.
Okay, guys. That's it from this week of Tech Town. We talked all things business. We got into our music, new funding for artists.
Check out Patreon. See if you can fund some artists that are worth funding.
And then we talked about Stuxnet. I mean, that is crazy stuff.
War.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. It's happening.
It's happening. And I'm glad you're with Tech Town because that's the only way you're going to make it through. We'll be able to direct you through this madness.
That's right. And come back next week for that direction here at Tech Town. All right, bye, guys.
Peace.